Welcome to Askewed Chimp.
I hope you're all safe, and so are those you care for. It's been a while since I made a video, and there's a couple of different reasons for that. One of those reasons is I got my COVID shot, and I took the opportunity as soon as I was immunized to catch up with friends. And so I've been running around town trying to catch up with people and to be out in the world again. It's important to me also that I get a chance to get outside, and it just got warm enough around here that I was able to get outside and do some stuff, especially to go to places that I knew were crowded, like some of the local parks and shopping malls and stuff. So just the ability to get outside of the house was really, it's been hard for me. I've been cooped up for a while, as I'm sure many who are watching this have been, but I really had to seize the opportunity to get out into the world as soon as it was safe for me to do so. So I've been doing that. And as I alluded to, my garage is not insulated, and it's connected to 3 other units, and every time a door opens, whatever weather is outside comes inside. So it's essentially just it's got no insulation, and it's got no heating and no cooling. So in the winter it's too cold. But I live in Denver, as you may have gathered from some of my other videos, and it got really hot all of a sudden here in Denver, and so it was like winter, 2 weeks of spring, and then squelching hot. And as I'm shooting this video today, as a matter of fact, it's 104 degrees out in the sun, and it's even hotter than that in the garage. So it's been kind of an unpleasant place to be, the garage. It's either too cold in the winter or it's too hot right now. And there was a small window that I could make videos in, but that was right after I got my shot, so I went outside instead. In any case, I made this video because I just wanted to share what I'm learning, and I also wanted to make sure that I gave my thanks to my 49 subscribers. I didn't know I had that many. YouTube used to send me alerts all the time, and it got agitating, so I may have shut them off. But apparently, when I logged in to upload this video, I saw that I have 49 subscribers, which is down 1 from last month, which means I missed the magical 50. But I really do appreciate those of you that have subscribed for whatever reason. What I'm doing here is I'm just practicing like I did in one of my other videos. And the video that I watched to prepare for my practice comes from Mike Walt, and I mentioned him in my previous video, and I'll link to his channel in the description again. I think he's got to be one of, if not the best, YouTube mentors out there, because it's hard to teach when you can't see your audience and give instant correction to a student or another person. But he does a really good job, and he's very instructive, and he does a great job of foreseeing questions and issues and explaining how to get around them. So what I usually do is I usually watch his video for the tool that I'm using, and then I go do it for an hour or so. Then I come back in the house and I watch it again for kind of a lessons learned. Then I wait a day for it to soak in, and then I try to go back out and do it again. So in this video, I'm working on a couple of different things, a bunch of different things, which any teacher will tell you to just try to do a couple things at a time, if even that many, but really try to keep it skinny. I'm obviously not taking that advice, but here's what I'm working on. I'm trying to be really careful because it's harder to retrain bad habits than to learn the right habits in the first place. So I'm trying to be very conscious of everything that I'm doing. I'm trying to keep my feet squared up, which is not natural for me. It takes actual conscious thought for me to do that, particularly when I'm standing at the lathe and I'm trying to get into the wood or whatever. I just automatically want to put myself in a 1 foot in front of the other position. So I'm trying to practice keeping myself squared. Learning how to hold the roughing gouge and to find a consistent way of holding it so that I build up some muscle memory, and so that my body gets used to holding it that way, and so that I'm not clenching it too tight and not jerking it around, but just learning the same motions over and over again. So I'm trying to hold the gouge the same way every time I touch it. I'm also trying to get used to using not so much pressure to get into the wood, but putting the gouge into the wood, but not forcing it into the wood, and so allowing it to cut at its maximum potential. Because I've always been either very skittish or I push too hard, one of the two. And so I'm trying to find that middle ground where the tool, the gouge, is actually doing the slicing, and I'm getting better with that. I'm also trying to remember to run the gouge off of the end of the wood when I get down to the end of it, or at least be intentional about not doing that and making sure that I'm aware I'm supposed to. But sometimes, I want to make a curve or I want to put a bevel on something, and so then I don't run it off the end of the wood, but I want to make sure that I remember that I'm supposed to run it off the end of the wood if I'm trying to flatten it out. And on that note, I'm trying to make bevels and shapes in the wood instead of just using the gouge as a flattening tool. So I'm trying to play with all these different things all at once. And there's a lot to remember there. Also, in this case, I'm working with red pine. And red pine actually comes out quite pretty, in my opinion. I think it has, I see why they call it red pine. It has these red veins that are in it. And I think it looks wonderful. I think it looks very pretty. This wood came from a wet tree, if you guys will remember. I salvaged it from a tree that was cut down in my neighborhood. And I grabbed it specifically just because it's practice wood. And one of the reasons that it's just practice wood is because A, it was pine, and B, I don't have any epoxy, and this thing was taken down wet, so I knew it was going to crack, especially in my garage, and so it's got these huge cracks all over it. I don't have epoxy, and I'm not going to pour a bunch of epoxy into pine that I don't know what I'm doing with. It really is just practice wood. I might get some epoxy soon and start playing with that, but we'll see how this practice stuff goes. It's very liberating to use practice wood that you know you're going to throw away, particularly if you are hyper-focused on details, like I am. So in this case, just messing around is easier, since I know I do not plan on keeping whatever comes out of this wood. Finally, I plan to work my way through each of the tools that I have and really make sure I get to play with them a lot more and get comfortable with them. So I'm going to be doing a lot more practicing, which is good because I have a lot of practice wood, and that really is why I got it. So that's what I'm working on. I was actually pretty happy with how this practice went, particularly since it's literally been a couple of months since I messed around on the lathe at all. So I actually felt pretty comfortable, and I was able to use the gouge effectively. I took off a lot of wood at once without gouging anything. I had a couple of really minor catches, but nothing major. It seemed to be going really well. So I will say that just a little bit of practice can go a long way, and I would encourage anybody else that's brand new to just get out there and find any old crap wood, absolute garbage, and throw it on the lathe and just not be afraid. Keep your tools sharp so that you don't hurt yourself or break anything, but go ahead and grab the 2x4s from the dumpster or whatever, which I have done that. I'm not above it. And just play with it. And don't be trying to be too focused on creating a product your first, a lot of times, many times. Just try to destroy the wood in an intentional way. Not just smacking the crap out of it or anything, but doing it with precise cuts and just play with it. It's really probably the better mousetrap, and I should have done that before I ever tried to build anything ever. So that's my advice to any other newbies. But things went really well in this practice session. If I wasn't trying to remember too many things at once, I think it would have gone even better. So next time I might break it down a little bit smaller and only do one or two of the things that Mike Walt and others have taught me to do, and only try to focus on one or two fundamentals at a time. But this went pretty well. Toward the end, I actually got to where this piece was really thin, and I wanted to see how thin I could get it with a roughing gouge, especially considering that it was extended out quite a ways. I would say 4 or 5 inches at least, maybe 6 or 7, and I was using the roughing gouge, just got it down to a 3/16 of an inch before it snapped off. So I'm pretty sure that with practice I can do even better, but of course that's not what a roughing gouge is for. I just wanted to practice. So that's what that was. But I'm pretty pleased with how that went. In any case, I plan to be practicing with some other tools soon, and I'll try to post those up too, but I'll try to show them in a more complete sense so that if you're like me and you actually just like watching people turn things, you can see it from beginning to end so that it's all coherent and together. And hopefully it'll be a little bit faster, because I do seem to feel like I'm speeding up the more I practice, but that could just be in my head. We'll find out. But for now, I wanted to remind you that the channel exists, and to thank you for your participation, and to thank you all for all of your encouragement. I hope to have another video for you all soon, and I hope you're all safe, and I hope you're all well.